Your voice
Can't
is
hear
gone.
you.
Yeah. Are you on mute? No, it doesn't look like it. You're gone. Your voice is gone. We see you, but the voice now is gone.
Yeah, the picture is really clear, but we can't
And
hear
now
you
the
at
picture's
all.
super clear. Yeah, by the way. Uh, no, still not. Can't hear. Not a sound. Maybe we should reboot the whole thing. See what happens. If you agree, say do that. If you disagree, use your left hand. Right hand for if you agree. Left hand if you disagree. Blink twice if it's yes. Once if it's no. Wait, what's going on? It's like she's not hearing us.
No, I don't think so.
It's odd. Who is she speaking to?
Hmm.
Can you hear or see us? Wait, I'm gonna reload again.
You're gonna go out? Okay. Oh, now you're frozen. Oh, okay. Hmm. Well, gremlins. Hmm. Okay, guys. Hmm. You're back. Now, what happened to Rick? I
I'm
thought
with
I thought I saw it, the ding bell, and it said admitting, but
you. It did.
oh,
Wow, I have never had this much trouble with Zoom before. Uh,
there he is. Okay.
okay, recording. I think we're live. Okay, so I can close this. Wow, this has been a weird experience today. I've never had this much trouble with
Wow.
Zoom. It usually works pretty well. Is Rick trying to say something? Rick, are
Oh,
you there?
it still says his audio is connecting, so I don't
Uh, he's now. He just sent me a message
What did he say?
saying,
Okay.
It's working.
Okay.
oh, you're there? Okay. Saying he was stuck in the lobby. I have never had this much trouble with Zoom before, so I don't know. You know, my Facebook got hacked yesterday, I think.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah,
Because I don't know how many people have sent me, friend invites, and I'm like, aren't we already friends? And where's your picture? Now they're
yeah,
getting smarter. They got your picture.
right. And I usually am good about not accepting requests from people that I think I'm already friends with.
Mhm.
Um, and it's a little uncomfortable because, like if it were you, for example, I know we're already friends. So if I get a friend request from you, if something happened, if you had taken a break from Facebook and now you were coming back and wanting to make friends again, I would want to make friends. But
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the real you. But
Right.
so I usually don't accept requests from people that I think I'm already friends with. But on the other hand, I will accept requests from strangers. So, so I've just decided I'm not making any more friends. I have way more than I can handle anyway.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm good.
It's a
Hey
slippery
there.
slope.
Is,
Also, change your
um,
password.
I did. I did that
And
yesterday.
then the last thing, reboot your phone, erase the cache, delete everything. They got access through somewhere.
Oh. What do I need
I
to do to
know.
my phone?
Just there's a go to applicate to settings, applications, and delete cache. So that's the all the data it's been gathering from cookies, websites you visited, files you downloaded by mistake. Sometimes you try to open something, it comes and you're like, it will remove all that.
Mhm.
And it might be through one of the cookies that you got tracked. That's why you're getting hacked through Facebook technologies, Instagram and Facebook. If Facebook
Okay.
buys something else, you'll get hacked from that new thing too.
So when you say delete cash, you mean like Cash App, Venmo, PayPal?
No, what they call cache is within the app. There's always a cache of data that is
Oh,
sleeping.
the
So
cash.
it's supposed to
Uh-huh.
improve your experience and streamline, etc. But in
Right,
the end, it's just to track your habits. So it's legal when it comes to marketing, but lots of hackers will use cookies that you don't see
right,
because they are coded to
right,
track you.
right. Okay. Yeah, I did not do that.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Where's the NSA when we need them?
I, out giving tax breaks to trillionaires. Oh, wow. All right, now I got to figure out how to open up the agenda, and my folders are looking crazy on my computer. What's going on? My God.
Uh-oh.
You're actually being hacked right now. That's what's happening. Your computer is infected, not your phone. Do you have
Oh,
antivirus, malware, software, or anything to clean it up?
yeah.
Because
That's
if
not
it's
the right
active,
answer. Michelle, what'd you say?
you need an antivirus, Michelle. I know it's expensive sometimes. It's like, but you got to get one. Otherwise, I think they're
Um,
actually looking at us right now. Or that's why Zoom is misbehaving. They're downloading stuff from your computer. That's why there's so little broadband. Now they're
Oh,
done
good
because you went
question.
away from Zoom.
Hmm.
So her social security number is,
Oh my goodness.
I mean, the thing with the hacking, This has become, and in fact, it's one of my questions. If I could open my questions, now my Microsoft Word is not.
Yeah, don't write anything. Wait, don't write anything on this computer, not even a draft.
Okay.
I think what's happening is that they have access to your, not to your whole computer, but to the suite of everything you use where you type. So they can literally get, information you type for an account or stuff like that on an app there. They're capturing it through, print screens, constant print screens. So I think if I were you, I would really get an antivirus.
Yeah.
You cannot browse the internet without antiviruses. Even government websites are infected.
I know it's a billion-dollar business now. This ransomware business.
Oh, multi-billion.
Yeah, but they're going to have a hard time getting money out of me. They might want to.
It's not about that. Your computer can be used to commit felonies in other countries through it. They use your IP address. You won't be worried by the cops or anything. They know what happens is that they take our computers and they use their power to confuse every single secret service in the world. We all know where it leads. However, North Korea, Russia, Macedonia, Albania, where you have those troll farms.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to try to hack a oil pipeline or Netflix or anything just to have fun or for a few $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
It's strategic. You don't, because you're messing with, national security. If you're a hacker, you're an idiot if you do that. If you're all about the money, you're an idiot. If you're not about the money and you're like Assange and you want to prove a point, okay, fair enough. But guys who want to make money, they try to stay far away from those websites. When they see FBI, they're like, hide all the pictures down the basement. Yeah, they're coming for you, bitch. They're gonna get you for what you did. No, I have a family. Oh. Well, they're gonna learn you like to diddle kids.
I'm over here fighting with my computer. Even my task manager, Word got frozen. I was trying to close it with the task manager. Task manager is not working. So
yeah, your computer's infected.
Not good.
Seriously.
Yeah, no, I know. I know.
What I would do
is,
can you? I'm not even sure you can download an antivirus at that point. If you try to do it, maybe it'll freeze.
Yeah, I'm not,
do you know anybody?
I'm not gonna worry about it right now. You all have the agenda, right?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
Just in case, make sure that So guys, since you're listening, wait, is that the agenda? Stay connected. No, that's not the agenda. Sorry, I thought I had it, but I'm gonna have it soon.
So let me just go ahead and do the welcome, and then Gio, would you read the summary, please?
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, welcome. I apologize. It's 6:20. I apologize for this lengthy delay, but we all know what it is like having technical problems as I have been having today. I'm Logan Michelle Odom. I'm in Brooklyn, New York, and this is Reading for Change, a collective journey, where we are reading Debt, the First 5,000 Years by David Graeber. We are on chapter 8 tonight, Credit versus Bullion. And Rick.
Yes?
Who are you?
You said it. You took the air away from me, so I'm Rick from Queens. There you go. You took my moment. Off to you. I won't name you because I'll let you introduce yourself.
And Gio.
Hey, I'm Georgette Moses, and I'm joining you guys from Columbia, South Carolina. And here's my big book.
Okay. Thank you. Gio, while you read the summary, I'm going to see if I can get into the agenda myself. But yeah, please go ahead and start with that.
Okay. So, summary. On the popular level, slavery remained so universally detested that even 1,000 years later, when European merchants started trying to revive the trade, they discovered that their compatriots would not countenance slaveholding in their own countries. One reason why planters were eventually obliged to acquire their slaves in Africa and set up plantations in the New World. It is one of the great ironies of history that modern racism had to be invented largely because Europeans continued to refuse slavery on their own lands. Focusing on the age of the First Agrarian Empires, 3,500 to 800 BC, when virtual credit money was dominant, Chapter 8, Credit versus Bullion and the Cycles of History, begins a series of chapters showing the cycles in history between cash and credit. Chattel slavery has been eliminated several times in human history, the author points out, including in Europe, India, and China. Moments of meaningful change follow a cyclical pattern, and by understanding it, we are more able to see present opportunities, he asserts. We learn in this chapter that the history of money, debt, and credit in Europe and Asia over the last 5,000 years makes the cycles between use of credit and coins more visible. The invention of coinage between 600 and 500 BC coincides with the end of chattel slavery in China and Europe and gave rise to the need for African slaves in the New World. The presence of war, violence, and illegal enterprise increase the need for cash transactions, and these tend to be the periods of the most damaging debt crisis. Credit and interest arrangements dominated in Mesopotamia between 3,500 and 800 BC. Little is known about when interest began, but it implies a lack of trust and often leads debtors to telling lies and factors into periodic debt crises. Whether demands from peasants or the wisdom of kings, general debt cancellations were common and sometimes annual events in the kingdoms of this era. In a different spin on how credit functioned in the rich and centralized Egypt, the empire managed to avoid interest and debt crises for most of its history. Dominated by the pharaohs, it had a comprehensive system of taxation, allotments, wages, and payments from the state. Debt crises did develop during the Iron Age, 1200 to 1000 BC, and the 196 BC Rosetta Stone, key to translating hieroglyphics, is a message on debt cancellation. Little is known of the first agrarian empires of India and China from 2200 to 771 BC, but it appears social currencies dominated for marriages and fines, while credit was used for transactions between neighbors, vendors, and governments. The age of the first agrarian empires, 3500 to 800 BC, was dominated by virtual credit money. And Graeber demonstrates this in Chapter 8 by focusing on the historical evidence from the period in Europe, Mesopotamia, Egypt, India, and China. Graeber's outline for the remainder of this book is to continue his look at historical cycles between the use of credit and coins like gold or silver bullion, while illuminating periods where meaningful change was and is possible. He will show how different types of money dominated in alternating historical periods as described below.
Okay, thank you. I was able to open the agenda. So I just put that chart there for our own benefit, to try to see in a different way what he was trying to say in that section. So this was a nice short chapter. A little break, right? You want to start with my questions, or was there something striking to either of you guys?
Just, I think that what was interesting is that the only way you can enslave people when people already went through it and really are repulsed by it is to dehumanize the people you're enslaving. And the best way to say they're animals, they're not civilized, or worse, you mix both and you say we're helping them by taming them to make them human one day. And that's how slavery works, is that you dehumanize and you transform people into currencies. But the only way is to say these people are not people. They're not. They're like animals. But even animals today, there's a new debate. But in the past, during that era that he describes, transatlantic slavery, Descartes famously said that animals were just, robots in the end, just obeying the laws of nature. And when you kick a dog, the scream you have is just a function. The animal doesn't have a soul. So you had this very easy way of using science to dehumanize.
Yeah, I'm one of the, I don't have it near me. I'm reading a book called The View from Flyover Country right now. It's by this woman, Sarah Kinsey, or I think her doctorate is in anthropology as well. But her focus has been on authoritarian political systems, particularly in Russia. And she lives in St. Louis, and that's what she's calling flyover country. And I adore her weekly podcast. I've told you about it before, Rick, called Gaslit Nation. That comes out on Wednesdays. So she's got a couple of books. So I said, let me, since I love listening to her so much, let me read her books. And so just in this beginning of the book, one of the things she's talking about is, first how we saw the death of the cities, then we saw the decay of the suburban areas as shopping malls were closing down. And, and now we're into this new era of online shopping and these major distribution houses like Amazon, where nobody really sees what the work experience is like except the people inside these major warehouses who are being totally dehumanized, expected to pick the next product, pick a product, the picker packers, pick a product every 33 seconds. And so a person in her book that was describing what it was like, he was like, it's like we're being, like they treat us like we're robots, like we're not humans.
And how do they call these warehouses?
What do they call them?
Fulfillment centers.
Oh, fulfillment. Yeah, that's right.
Remember, it's, it's a good career. It fulfills you, and we fulfill your packages. Hello. One thing that is dangerous is that at one point in history, there won't be any stores anymore. And to order stuff, you'll depend on your network, your internet access. If you're a bad citizen, we just shut your door. Your door is controlled remotely now. And we shut down your stock of food. We don't deliver anymore and let people starve inside those huge mega buildings. That can happen, and that will happen because right now they need to find a way to. They know people can't be controlled through salaries anymore because, I mean, seriously, AIs are better than us. They're just faster, and machines just work faster. And they're like, no, you can't replicate human hands. Yeah, well, they're getting there. Don't worry. And supercomputers are learning really fast, and we know at one point one's going to become self-aware if it's not already done. So we're like, eh. But what I'm saying is that how do you control people then? We're overpopulated. Well, the best way is to tell them be a good citizen. And how you be a good citizen? Watch the good shows. Help us advertise you,
Mhm.
and I'm telling you it's going to become the idea of trends so that the people in charge, how do they stay in power? They guess the trends. So they
Mhm.
guess how the mass is going to overconsume something or how you can tell the mass, oh, wait, no more mushrooms. You know why? Bad for you. Really? No, really bad. They don't have mushrooms anymore. Because the truth is that they destroyed something on Earth and it's polluting. And if the truth is out there, so there's no mushroom because mushroom are bad. Mushroom have souls.
Right,
They can
right.
feel. So I'm telling you, we're
Right.
going to this dystopian world real fast. The problem is not authoritarian regimes. It's the humanization of every single thing on Earth.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not so happy about authoritarian regimes either.
Yeah, but they're bound to fail. They're at war with their own people. It never lasts. Except
Mhm.
North Korea. Why? Because China and America make it last. If China and America were in there, Russia, North Korea and South Korea would be the same country again. The reason why Germany was able to do that is because Russia was collapsing, the Soviet Union, but China wasn't collapsing. So North Korea stayed the way it is. It's, like Syria, the civil war there is because everybody's trying new weapons there. And, I get it. It's fun. You got new weapons, let it last a little longer so we can use them by giving them to some guys in beards.
Well, since you started us off on slavery, let's look at question 5. I'll read it. Question 5. Chattel slavery was eliminated in Europe, India, and China around 600 AD. It happened over the course of centuries amidst much unrest and confusion. What all this suggests is that moments of historical opportunity, moments when meaningful change is possible, follow a distinct, even a cyclical pattern. And it is only by understanding it that we can begin to have a sense of the historical opportunities that exist in the present. Question. Changing social patterns is a lengthy process, and we may not perceive in our own lifetimes actual change taking place. Let's use Mother Earth as a model for considering the protracted nature of change. What do science and nature teach us about change? And part B, in what ways do you see our present moment as ripe for change? And similarly, what are some of the factors pulling against progress in our era? And part C, the June 5th, 2021 episode of Our Common Ground with Janice Graham was the start of a 4-week series focusing on the issue of reparations for African Americans. Dr. Darity talked about changing attitudes among white people on this issue. He said a study in 2000 showed 4% of white Americans supported reparations for African Americans. By 2018, that number had risen to 16%, and this year the rate is closer to 30%. What do these changing numbers and attitudes suggest to you about the present historical moment? Hi. Anybody?
I mean, I don't want to be negative, but nature teaches us that change requires death and birth. Predators. I mean, the reason why nature is so beautiful and wealthy, people don't realize it because it's an open war. all organisms are fighting for the biggest space, trees, and by accident they happen to sometimes interact in ways that are symbiotic. The thing is, we humans are should be aware of that fact and understand that, and that's why um, change happens. And 600 AD, he forgets. I mean, there's something we need to remind everybody. That's the fall of the Sassanid Empire, the fall of the Roman Empire, the fall of the first Chinese kingdoms. And there's a lot of death, a lot of barbarians invading, and the world is really on mock. Slavery is abolished, not so much at that time, but between 600 AD and 1000 AD in Europe, at least 1100, because it's gonna sound crazy, but barbaric kings that were trying to imitate Romans realized that having slaves was more expensive than having them free, because when they're free, you can tax them and they can work, because slaves had to be fed. If a slave killed somebody, or you had to pay the person, damages. So lords that were trying to pillage other countries, they have money for that. They need money for, so that's how they started creating contracts, franchises, to get free men, they were called, to libre, homine libre, of working for them. But then it created a new form of oppression, which was not tantamount to slavery, but another form of oppression, which is strange, which is you owe your lord your safety. So you owe your lord food so that he can, but slavery didn't disappear because you didn't have an empire anymore to need it. That's when slavery truly disappears, unfortunately, is when people, when empires collapse. So empires bring one thing to the world: comfort, but they don't bring justice. And most people are really addicted to comfort, because I agree with Graeber. The Middle Age in Europe is really cool, actually. It's really an era of, yeah, there's a lot of trouble, but people are freer than, I mean, this is the era where, all those idiots and traditionalists go back saying, oh, those good times where we were Christian and all white. Yeah. So we arrested the Pope 4 times.
All right. Well, we're not to the middle.
You know what I mean? But slavery didn't disappear because people were good. It disappeared because nobody could pay for it anymore.
Yeah. Gio?
Oh man. Well, good point about nature being cyclical and life and death. That's not so negative. It's just what is, right? Now, science. What does science have to do with that? I'm thinking, well, unless we study this along the way, cause and effect, um, can we really understand what's going on and then be able to foresee or plan where and how we want to make changes? Understanding what's going on and why it's happening. But interestingly, as I read this chapter, it brought more questions to my mind than answers. Well, why? Okay, so Graeber introduces, the hypothesis that, between bullion and credit, it had to do with war and you needing to pay, these armies, and because you didn't trust people, you used something that had more or less the same value across a geographical area. But yet you're going back to credit. So it seems like, why could there not have been, a continuity of this? If it works one way and most of the people are satisfied with it, what happens where they have to keep going back and forth uh, between these two systems? And then how does that inform, I know he's probably going to get into it later, but how does this inform what's going on with us today? And why, the periods where the kings in these particular civilizations, had their little jubilees or restoration of justice and equity, if they could see that was a good thing,
Mhm.
why can't we see, you know, that sort of that renewal, right? That cyclical going that way, is a good thing.
Mhm.
And so just to fold that into hmm, B, well, what's pulling against us? We are ripe for change, right? Which part C informs us that the attitudes of people are changing due to the disruption, right? The pandemic, and
Mhm.
and the other social events that just blatantly displayed how horrific we can be to each other, and
Mhm.
the lack of justice and transparency in the systems that we put our faith in. um, it's time for a type of change, but just as the people whose minds are open and willing to change, there's an equal and opposite force of those people who are dragging and like, no, you're not taking the rights away from me, that I feel I've inherited,
Mhm.
um, and the financial wealth that goes along with it. So yeah, that's a problem.
Well, you were talking about why do we go from credit to debit? You look at science, science can teach us something. From the French Revolution to the collapse of the Roman Empire, the Chinese Empire, they all have one thing in common: a short ice age. Due
Yeah.
to a volcano that exploded in Indonesia after the French Revolution that started to tame the sky. So they had really bad 4 or 5 years of really bad crops. So people started noticing injustices because when you're still getting taxed, when you can't eat yourself anymore, and the government is not getting enough money. So instead of reforming, introduces new taxes on stuff that you may have. It becomes absurd. Oh, you have a child, so we tax that. What?
Mhm.
They all have that in common, which is empires collapse and change comes when resources disappear. Credit is about sharing. Empires are extremely powerful, like the pharaohs, the Romans. They use credit sometimes. Why? Here's some bread. We're so powerful. We got so much. America, here's 4 television. Here's 4 houses. You don't have money. Who cares? You'll pay later. Then comes the ice age or climate change. Then resources start to become scarce, some of them. But then
Mhm.
comes a question, so who's worthy of sharing? We need a mark, and that mark is green nowadays, but it used to be different colors. But that's the mark, and the mark is the number of the beast. Sorry. Um, that's pretty much how I feel about it, but just a thought.
Thank you. Well, I guess I would say on part C, um, that, the numbers look like they're moving in the right direction. But that doesn't mean I think we're um, necessarily very close to actually getting reparations for African Americans. And to relate that to part A on nature, I don't think the life death cycle is negative either, Rick. I think it's just what it is. But one of the other, I think lessons from nature is that growth can be a very, very long, long process. And when you think of a seed of a tree and the hundreds of years that it will take to mature, we see that kind of thing going on throughout nature. We also, I think, see in nature that a lot of times, like I'm thinking about some kind of a chemical reaction where you don't necessarily see the action that's going on, and then all of a sudden, kaboom, there's this big change. Um, so, so anyway, I appreciate Graeber's approach um, of, of trying to teach us how to pay attention for these moments in history when the time to strike may be right. And as far as death, I was just having a conversation with one of my girlfriends today, because we were talking about how just how oppressive this. So we went from Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett paying zero taxes to a situation she had going on with the IRS hunting her down for money. She's got a low income, and they're ready to string her up by her toes. And so we got off on just the subject of how oppressive this system is. And I was just trying to make the point that, and it always will be, we really are living in patterns that have been established thousands of years ago. And to me, the only way to get out of it is having that willingness to die for whatever it is you believe in. And as long as we're, it's a human instinct to want to survive and want to live. But as long as living is the only goal that we have, then anything can be done to us, and we have no way to get out of it. And so most people want to live. And so we go through these circles, and generation after generation, making, smidgens of change here, and, but very much being locked in patterns. So anyway.
Oh, that's really, no, you're actually right. But what I was reading the title, The Debt Owed Reparations. I think it's dangerous to frame reparations as a debt owed, because a debt owed is just somebody worked for you and didn't get paid. That's not reparations. Reparations is what we gave to Jewish people who got slaughtered by their own in Europe. It's not to say, oh, we owe you that. No, like we're paying you to kill you, to rape you, and to whip you. No, it's not a payment. It's a reparation for the damage, something that should have never happened. So it's not a debt. Even if the work had been sloppy, in a way, the money would still be owed. It's not just money, of course. And, where I think it's biased, I'm very surprised. Yes, the United States used slaves and enslaved people, but no, they did not enslave people. They bought them. From whom? The French, the Spaniards, the British, the Dutch, the Belgians. Nobody in Europe ever talks about reparations. You know why? Because we can't give you back money you just gave us through our debt that you owe us for colonizing you, that are still around. And Africans accept that, which is insane. African nations some criticize that, but when you have intellectuals in African nations criticizing that, they get shut up. So, when you look at reparations for slavery, it's not just the United States. It's also Brazil. And I'm surprised in America, not a single activist points fingers at Europe. We enslaved people. We were going to Africa, taking people away, kidnapping them, putting them on ships, killing them until they come to America. And then we would say, hey, we got your shipment. We are the ones who did that. The Enlightenment made money out of slavery. Voltaire and he had a justification. So the nation that sells their own children deserves slavery. That was his.
Well, I think some activists have pointed to Europe, but that I think it's kind of natural to start where you are, to work from your own context. And it's kind of what Audre Lorde is the one who what's her expression, Gio? The master's tools will never
dismantle the master's house.
The master's house. And Graeber is pointing to the same thing. As long as we're using the language, as long as we're using the methods, as long as we're using the tools and strategies of NASA, then one tool of NASA is nation states. And so an American citizen has no rightful claim on France.
Well, this is where...
But a French citizen does.
But this is where everybody is missing the opportunity, like the Amistad trial, where they use the rules of the master against the master. By putting them into the context, this is stolen shipment. They still got them freed.
Right.
You use the rules, you put them to the point they're absurd, and you destroy the system from within. And in Europe, this is why it should start in Europe, reparations. Because if they're not listened in Europe to, and the parliaments of France, Italy say, not Italy, but France, UK say no, you can go to the European Court of Human Rights and say, so why were reparations given to the Jewish people? To the Corsicans in France. Some, not all of them. And we thought we were equal, that race does not exist in Europe. So shouldn't we, oh, you're right, government should have a reparations for ex-slaves. Otherwise, it's unequal with other reparation, because we gave reparations to Jews. So we have the precedent, not the United States. The United States never gave any money back to anybody, not even the land of, the guys they stole it from, by the way.
People have to figure out the strategy, and people much smarter than me are working on it. But there has been a case of reparations brought to the United Nations. Now, we can say today that the United Nations is not a particularly effective or authoritative body, but it was only the late 1940s when the United Nations was established. I think there was a 1950s reparations case brought by African Americans to the United Nations. So I'm sure they didn't know what an ineffective body that was going to turn out to be. And so, but again, this is what I mean by the long nature of change, the whole process of learning. What is the process you're going to use to pursue your goal? And a part of it is believing that you have a right to pursue that goal, because such a head job has been done on us. So there's all the work of unraveling, the head job. So everything is so complex.
But there's also something interesting in history. Change comes through individuals as well who become leaders and famous leaders. What do? Whether it's kings like William the Conqueror or Jesus Christ or the Prophet of Islam, at one point they realized the rules were fake. They saw the illusion and they try to talk to people about it. So of course they're going to get killed or persecuted. Of course, they know it. But when you think about it, it takes somebody not smart necessarily. It's not about being smart. It's about having an experience that make you realize those rules are bollocks. Like William the Conqueror was the bastard son of the Duke of Normandy. He was raised in the forest like a peasant and understood his origin. He was like, wait, so the ideas of honor, family, it's all bollocks. It's all about power, because this guy is not competent. They know I'm good, so I'm going to kill everybody and just take over England, by the way. But same thing for Jesus Christ, or Abraham, or these figures in history, or even feminists that at one point said, wait, why do I have to cook you something every night? I don't get it. Can't you cook it yourself? No, it's your function. Wait, you have hands. It doesn't make sense. You need people with that form of awareness of the world to see change happening. And people who say, to me, true rebellion is not, I'm going to kill you all, and I no problem. You're going to torture me. I would love to deny the fact that I believe in Jesus Christ, but I cannot, Roman Emperor. So what you going to do? Kill me? I'm scared. I'm going to cry, but I know what I know now. It's like asking me not to think of the color red. And that's true rebellion, because now you can't take that idea off your head. That's why Stalin, all great dictators, said, suppress ideas. Right now, don't think.
And we've got that going on, right now. This whole anti-critical race theory, they couldn't define it if you paid them. But what they know is they don't want all of this discussion going on about ideas, about truth, about history with young, impressionable people, because once young people get the idea that this,
no, but they're impressionable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We should teach them about the fact that somebody died for their sins 2,000 years ago without any scientific proof, and teach them also that the Mayflower was the origin of the United States, nothing else happened, and that the Civil War was about states' rights. I mean, they're impressionable. Tell them not the truth, but something else.
Right. So that by the time they get to be an adult, they'll have to spend the next several decades trying to unravel fact from fiction, if they are curious enough to realize that's what they need to be doing.
No, because they'll shame you of being curious. Keeping it real, nerd. They'll shame you. They'll condition you. And even teachers. I remember teachers when I was a kid, I was like annoying. I'm like, no, but Rick, you know everything. You're an idiot. Okay. They used to do that. They will crush people who ask questions.
I'm sure they still do it. It's all a part of the mind game. Rick, would you read question 7, please?
Question 7, radio 6, 7. Interest implies a lack of trust. Instead of asking for profit shares, as would happen later in the Middle East, leaders of Mesopotamia charged interest. A fixed interest rate would render irrelevant whatever elaborate tales of robbery, shipwreck, or attacks by winged snakes or elephants a creative trader might have concocted. That actually happened. The connection the connection between borrowing and lying is important in history. Herodotus remarked about the Persians: to tell a lie is considered by them the greatest disgrace, and next to that, to be in debt, especially because they think that one in debt must of necessity tell lies. When moral relations are conceived as debt, corruption, guilt, and sin will follow. What's the most fantastic tale of a friend of your? What's the most fantastic tale a friend of your friend ever told a bill collector? Do you think bill collectors today know that when we're lying? How do you imagine bill collectors in ancient Mesopotamia handled liars? What are some of the reasons people are not able to pay their debts on time? And do you think creditors factor in such obstacles when loaning money?
Okay.
Just one thing. Do you think bill collectors today know when we're lying? No, they don't, because they don't know anymore when we're telling the truth or lying. Everything's a lie. I'm paying you. That's not your credit card number. It is. It actually is. No, I don't believe you.
I know.
Well, yeah, they know you're lying because they're lying too.
Yeah. Well, this really is a friend of a friend story that I was telling you all earlier about my girlfriend going through the issues with the IRS, where she knew that she owed them money, but when she called them, she was acting like she didn't realize, that it was an oversight. And so they went on, they had the conversation, and they finally negotiated a payment agreement. And so then the IRS agent says, well, now I'm going to need your bank routing number. And so she was like, well, why do you need that? I mean, we just made an agreement. If I don't live up to the agreement, then, you'll rain hell down on me. So why do you have to be all up in my business? So he was like, well, let me go check with my supervisor because we have to get the ruling, but I'll check with somebody. So he, put her on hold for a minute. And he said, well, I guess we could do it that way. So it's just a series of lies, Jill. You're absolutely right.
Actually, the reason he's asking is that they're actually allowed to take that agreed amount on your account directly, but when you give them access, if you fail payment, they take the whole sum from your account.
Right.
So that's why she's clever. She is not mandated to give it, but so she knows her rights. But you got to be very, it's not even lying. It's like lying by omission. It's like the media. A bomb exploded in Nigeria. Why? What happened? What's the context? What do you mean a bomb in Nigeria? Where in Nigeria? I don't know. Nigeria, the whole thing that is down there. Whatever. It's and they're just trying to sound casual, and I call that bullshitting. And bullshitting is not exactly lying; it's mixing lies and truths, which is confusing, and that works really well. Like you have a First Amendment right to First Amendment. That's something that exists. To yell at people while throwing rocks at them because rocks are technically words, right? Rock. Oh, right. I should really be a cult leader. You need to start business.
Oh no.
Everybody's gonna be scared. QAnon was nothing yet. If QAnon worked, I got ideas.
I know, right? Is it that easy? No.
Exactly. What am I doing with my life? Hi, I walk on water. Do it now. I can't because there's negative energy around me.
Yeah.
And it would destroy the world.
Yeah.
People will give me money.
Yeah, but this was funny. The stories of shipwreck, winged snakes, elephants. I just imagine the kind of lies they told back then.
But think about mobsters today. When they're going to collect that, I'm telling you, you don't understand. I had the money. But then my grandmother, you know her, she got sick. And the hospital called. I didn't have money and stuff. And the mobster, what do you mean, your grandmother? And they started beating them up. That's 3,000 years of flying snakes coming back in the mobster. Like, I remember that from my ancestors. They're lying. But I would love current guys getting racketeered, talking about, you know what, flying snakes came over and took the money. And the mobster being like, that happened to my bro. Yeah, you're right. I'll see you next week.
Or I got abducted and they kept the cash. What can I do?
So if you think about it, mythology is people in debt trying to find a way out. So there was a god. He was a swan and he had sex with me. Really? That's how you had a child? You, my wife? Yeah. Oh, cool. So I'm the stepfather of a demigod? Yeah, you're cool. Jesus Christ. You cheated on me. No, an angel came and I'm still a virgin. Don't look at it, otherwise it's not pure. And there you go. People in trouble lie crazy lies, and the craziest is the best. Don't try to be rational. Go all in.
That's right. That's right, because those lies they were telling back then, I mean, we're still, worshiping and following them to this very day. That was some good stuff.
You know why? Because the biggest lies, it's Hitler who, is it Hitler or Goebbels? I always confuse who said that, but said that the bigger the lie, people will follow it because they cannot imagine you would lie to them to that point.
Yeah.
Because it's so obvious that it could be a lie that they're like, a liar would try to, no, the greatest liars tell the greatest stories. Look at that girl who got arrested after scamming all the New York jet set. They got networks all over the world for years. The socialite.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a guy 20 years in France who did that with stars, got a ton of money of them. He was an investor, but nobody asked questions because he was investing, in nuclear energy with developing countries, Oh,
Mhm.
that's big. He wouldn't lie about that.
Bernie Madoff. I mean,
Yeah.
Donald Trump.
I got an easy way out of it. Believe everything everybody tells you. Be stupid. Be like, yeah, wow. And don't comment. And they're like, no, but I really do it. Oh, wow. Whoa. And the day they can't do it, you're like, wait, he's gonna do it. He's not in good. You help him. And it's humiliating to him. I know by experience. I do that all the time. People say, I know karate. I'm really good at it. And they don't know I used to be an MMA fighter. So I'm like, okay, wow, you can knock guys like that. Yeah, yeah. Oh, show me. But wait, what if I do this? Wait, but I didn't, it sounds natural. And it's like, well, it doesn't work. Bullshit is beautiful to believe bullshit and ask bullshit to walk
Right.
with you and see what happens. It's beautiful.
Rick, you got a lot of time. That's a lot of energy, man.
Always.
He should, let's look at question 9 for a couple minutes. I'll read it. Egypt represents an interesting contrast, since for most of its history, it managed to avoid development of interest-bearing debt entirely. Extraordinarily rich and self-contained and far more centralized, Egypt was dominated by the pharaohs, who maintained a dazzling array of taxes and a continual distribution of allotments, wages, and payments from the state. Egyptian money clearly arose as a means of accounting. A, let's talk about guaranteed income. What do you see as the pros and cons of such arrangements? B, from a philosophical perspective, do citizens deserve guaranteed income? Why or why not?
One thing that bothers me in this idea of income, guaranteed income, is that the pharaohs didn't give money. They gave crops, food, shelter, things you actually need. We're talking about giving money to people. I don't see how we can escape inflation in that case. And if I'm an entrepreneur, I'll be like, I'll raise my prices because people got more money now, right? So I think the change of the world would be a world a little bit like when he talked about Native Americans at the beginning. We have wealth, we distribute it, and the reason is very obvious because when people don't have wealth, if you don't have a central ideology that oppresses the minds of people, they're going to eat you. So the best way to have peace, the Roman Empire knew that really well. By the way, when Rome was cut from Egypt, that's why they went and destroyed Cleopatra when she was playing like that. That means grain wasn't coming to Rome. Every day they were distributing bread to the plebes. So a day without bread, the plebes would have revolted and killed everybody. They knew it. So I think the pros and cons very cynically is that if you want order, you need people to not starve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if they starve, they're going to steal. If I starve, I'm going to steal and kill. I'm sorry, I'm an animal. I'm starving, I need to eat. Crime doesn't arise from people being evil. It arises from, I'm going to take what I need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. When people are satisfied and they feel in some way that valued, and because you're kind of first you recognize what their needs are and you're satisfying that on that level, now they're free to exercise other opportunities to create a better society environment for everyone. Now they're thinking about everyone instead of just their belly, or their children's safety, So
Mm-hmm.
I think so. But we won't get there. Not this decade.
Well, I believe we deserve to get there.
We do. Yes, we do.
And, um, and one thing is, as we can see with the pandemic, The government can print as much money as it needs to do whatever it wants to do. And and we just have to keep reminding ourselves of that fact. And, there's all of this ugly history. There's all of this slavery that has gone on throughout the centuries around the world. God, whatever your God is, God gave us the basic resources that we needed to survive: the food, the air, the sun, the da-da-da. But it is human labor, mostly under the force of slavery, that has developed those resources into the creature comforts that exist today. And so we've worked for it. We deserve it. And I just think we need to start telling ourselves we deserve it and acting like we deserve it. As far as inflation, well, right now, in response to unemployment benefits, employers are trying to say, well, we can't find workers to work on slave farms. Our factory.
Yeah, right.
Because you're all paying them too much in unemployment benefit. They don't want to come back to work.
Yeah.
But
you want people to obey you, give them a little bit.
But what you don't hear them saying is, we'll match what they're getting on unemployment if they will come back and work for it. And so, I'm just saying, we've been trapped in these cycles and in this BS for a long time. And I think at some point, the masses of the human population just really have to say enough is enough.
They'll come through climate change. We're already seeing it. Why are so many people from the African nations in the Middle East going to Europe? They know Europeans hate them. They know it better than anybody else because there's no crop in the south and they're getting bombed in Syria. So they'd rather being subjected to racism and police brutality than bombs. It's like, I can get Ebola or HIV. Let's go HIV and I'll live a little longer. That's really that. And it's already happening in what we used to call the third world. But now it's starting to happen in America. And resources are getting scarce and white people are revolting with the capital and stuff because we used to have 4 televisions at home. The home alone was not a myth. The family, the house, these people, I knew people who had that much money, but it sounded to me normal. It wasn't money. It was, well, yeah, of course we have huge houses, but they're poor, That was our definition of normal. And all of a sudden that disappeared with my generation. And so people are thinking it's because, political correctness. No, it's because resources are getting scarce. We're not building televisions in America anymore. We're using rare earth from different places. Resources are getting scarce because also countries are retaining these resources, very aware of how important they are. And if you notice, things have started to change under Reagan after the first oil crisis in 1973, when they realized that oil one day will be gone. So now they're trying to use us to become idiots and thinking that it's because there's some brown people around and I don't have 4 televisions anymore. No, you're an idiot. Your racism is hurting you also. You got them,
Yeah, I mean, as far as I can tell, there's not enough love for Mother Earth to save her from the the demands that greedy human beings have put on the planet. And yet, according to the scientists, we're not dead yet, and we still have a chance to self-correct. And there are alternative sources of energy if we could course correct. And so I'm not real thrilled with Biden these days, but he still does some good things, and I think it was a good thing that he stopped the Keystone Pipeline this week from moving forward. And so, it's just a question to me of are we going to be so greedy and stupid that we actually kill the planet that we depend on for life?
The planet survived things that
but it'll get rid of us.
Oh no, but that's the thing, is that we are not going to, well, we're going to survive. That's the worst part of it, because we also survived several exterminations, but it's going to be a whole different world. Going from 7 billion, 8 billion human beings to 2 billion is going to be a shock. Not everybody knows to operate every machine out there. And there's going to be a major catastrophe from the climate to us. But right now, when, people don't read about biomass, they read about species. They should read about biomass. 25% of the biomass of Earth is ants.
Wow.
There's 7 billion ants for each human being. They rule the Earth. They do have wars with strategies against termites that also have mutation chambers. There's a famous book from a French futurist that said, well, we already lost a technological war. It's done. They have cloning, they have all that stuff. So during wars, termites, if they lose too many warriors, they have mutation chambers where they can send workers to become warriors, and the other way around, several times in a lifetime. So ants,
Wow.
It's crazy. Ants have cemeteries.
What?
Bring back their dead inside. They bring back their dead inside a chamber, and the reason that is theorized for that is that if you leave corpses outside, that attracts predators. Well, a little bit like us, we buried because they attracted also predators. Hey, dad's dead, prehistoric times. Oh, jackals, and they're bigger at that time, and we're dead. Let's bury him so that nobody, it doesn't attract. People romanticize everything, but it's very basic, and we're just 10% of the biomass. Here's my real worry. Climate change is not going to be the destruction of life, but the multiplication of life that can survive these conditions. Bugs, termites, viruses, bacteria, all these things, all these parasites are going to explode. But species that have very fragile ecosystems, all mammals, we're done. It's the era of the insects. It's a new movie.
Thank you, Rick.
Starring Brad Pitt. No.
As the Black Widow. And it's not an insect, so.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think we should just pack up right now. It's over. No. I'm
the UN is actually
trip to Venus. No.
Gio, don't laugh, because the UN is saying that to solve the food crisis in 2050, we'll all be eating algae and insects massively.
Whoa. Well,
otherwise,
as long as it looks good and it's not too crunchy, okay, maybe if I don't know what it is.
Well, I heard, these circadia attacks that are going on here lately. Yeah. I hear there's some people that eat those.
Yeah, I just saw it on the news. A Chinese lady, not being stereotypical, it was just her restaurant, and they interviewed her. She said she was waiting for the cicadas because she was planning all the recipes out, that. You try it out. But
Mm.
in Japan, like I think a decade ago, it was a whole big thing, chocolate covered ants and whatever. Hey, because they're a great source of protein.
But they don't have taste. That's the odd thing. Like locusts, I get. Worms, I get. And flies. Surprisingly, fly donuts that exist. That's really good. Yeah, I had a strange childhood. I grew up in
Oh,
Asia, so I ate stuff, and I was like, one day I was like, "This is good, rabbit." They were like, "That's not rabbit. What is it? It's cat."
okay. See, if you don't know, and the chef is good,
Yeah, but then you discover that you were eating worms.
Oh God.
you
Oh,
Yeah.
survive.
Well,
oh.
yeah, but my body now is like, don't
Coronavirus.
eat stuff anymore.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Mm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, we may not have to worry too much about social, political, economic change if we don't have a earth to do it on.
But don't you think
Um,
the Earth is going to guide us precisely through climate change, force us to realize our ways are stupid because we're all dead, and now we need to work together because we're not that many, and resources are scarce, so we can kill each other and destroy humanity for good, or let's work something out. Because that's what happened in the Middle Age after the Roman Empire collapsed. Hey, the roads don't work anymore. We're the guy, we have to work together. Um, that
yeah,
doesn't mean there won't be war, but it won't be widespread war like before. It will be more like, yeah, let's fight, stuff,
yeah,
Middle Age like.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Gio, was there anything in the chapter you wanted to be sure to touch on?
The difference between Egypt and Mesopotamia. How can taxation or various forms of taxation work so well for them and not well for anybody else? Taxation is a bad word, but it worked for those guys. It just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they have the Nile again. If you're wealthy naturally where you are,
Right.
but Mesopotamia had the Euphrates and Tiger, still have them. But there was another problem. Everybody wanted that place because everywhere else was sand. So everybody was fighting for that place. That's why they didn't survive. But Egypt, it was like, listen, between where our capital is and where all the other powers are, there's sand, like a lot. It's very hot. So try, please come. So they never came. The only guys that declared war to Egypt were like the Ethiopians. They were like, we're crazy, let's go. Um, but they actually won several battles before losing. But the only time they had a crisis was 1200 to 1000, like you said. That's when the Hyksos, the people from the sea, it's literally we not quite sure who they are. Are they Aryans? Are they Semites? We're not sure. Invaded Egypt and for 2 centuries pretty much ruled it. So debt crises arrive when the wealth is cut from the people. And that's what we're having right now because wealth is supposed to be a reward when it's not. It's there. There's a plan. Don't touch it. It's not yours. What do you mean? It's there. It's not mine, but I can take, one. No, go to jail. What?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we need to find a new Nile. And I tell everybody we need to start putting people on mega ships and saying, hey, we found a planet and good luck. And hopefully that's the last lie we'll tell.
You think it's well, Jeff will be up there in a minute. Maybe he can tell.
No, we're just not telling them. We're putting them to sleep for about 3 centuries. And what they'll get there, we have hypotheses about the planet, but it's spectrometry. We're not sure if there's an atmosphere. Good luck. It seems you have access.
Yeah, all right.
I just got a message that said meeting is now streaming live on custom live streaming service. I've never seen it flash that message before.
Yeah, I got it too.
I thought we were streaming the whole time. So I don't know what is going on here today. But Georgette, that makes me want to read question 8. I'll read it. The first time the word freedom appears in a political document is when King Inmatina of Lagash canceled all debt and interest due around 2402 BC. Mothers and their children were reunited. 50 years later, the king's successor, Uruin Mgina, clearly spelled out the debt cancellation terms in what would become a model for such amnesty. He canceled not only all outstanding loans, but all forms of debt servitude, even those based on failure to pay fees or criminal penalties. The only thing accepted being commercial loans. Kings canceled debts to restore justice and equity, protect widows and orphans, and ensure, as Hammurabi said, that the strong might not oppress the weak. According to Michael Hudson, Babylonia cleared the financial slate during the New Year festival, celebrated in the spring, and its rulers saw this as part of the calendrical renewal of society, along with the rest of nature. Graeber points out over the next several thousand years, this same list, canceling the debts, destroying the records, reallocating the land, was to become the standard list of demands of peasant revolutionaries everywhere. Sometimes Mesopotamian leaders even took the initiative. A, what do you see as the implications of the enormous wealth inequality we see in the modern era between individual citizens of various nations and between nations? Okay, so we probably don't want to return to many of the ancient ways, but this debt cancellation ritual sounds pretty cool. How might such a policy of debt cancellation change lending, borrowing, and spending habits in our modern world? And C, what do you see as the factors leading to or pulling against a general debt cancellation in the US today?
Well, yeah, that cancellation sounds good. Just start all over next year. Okay, you people who messed up, get it together. We're gonna send you to classes so you can learn how to figure it out. But that's how most of these entities make their wealth, by putting people and countries in debt in one way or the other. I mean, you'd have to change the whole mindset. Uh, Oh boy. And then, the mindset of the people who are actually getting rich off of this, and the mindset of the people who are continually placed in debt because they see it as, it's an obligation. I owe it because, well, I did it. Or, I wanted these items and I entered into a contract with you, you know. So, and of course, you have the people, if there's a yearly cancellation, well, I'm just gonna, ball. I'm just gonna, yeah, it'll be gone next year, unless like you have to get beat up before they cancel the debt.
But I mean, the way some people are able to use bankruptcy, is essentially that they do whatever they want to do, and then file bankruptcy and start clean. It's just that all of us can't do it.
Well,
That's right.
there's one thing
That's
that
right.
would change. You're talking about the free market. If the rule is that every year you clean the slate, you're supposed, you can't lend amounts of money the other can't pay. That's the problem with the current economy. Even the liberal philosophy in economy says it's a problem when you knowingly are not doing a commercial exchange, but getting into a relationship of power. It's supposed capitalism is supposed to be about the economy, right? Not power, if you listen to them. So by definition, when I lend money to a nation or to somebody that they can't refuse because they need it, but I lend a huge chunk of money because I refuse to just lend $50. Some people need just $50. No, it has to be minimum loan of $500 with an interest rate of 25%. So when you know you're going to lose that money regardless, you're not going to lend. We're going to see small loans explode of $50, $20 in a new economic model that will be for 3 months loan. Everything will become a pawn shop. That's what they don't want, because it's not about exchanging things and making money through loans. It's about power. So, like a lot of African nations don't want, like Asia, they didn't want any help from anybody when they had the tsunami. Why? Because they can't repay and they know what it means. Yeah, that building we're going to build in the middle of Bangkok, but we don't like it. Yeah. We gave you money.
Yeah.
A lot of African leaders advocate to refuse all Occidental help from now on. And they're right, because it's never just what they need. It's always, oh, we're giving you so much right away. That's nice. Why? No reason. See you in 5 years.
And even like with what's going on in Japan with the Olympics, where the people there do not want 100,000 people from all over the infected world coming to their country for a sports event. But now they're, hooked into this International Olympics Committee, and they can't get out. I mean, it's insane.
You know why countries don't want the Olympics anymore? Or the World Cup? It's too expensive and it doesn't yield any results. At one point, the Olympics would help countries develop, like South Korea, but now Brazil was ruined by the World Cup and the Olympics. Ruined. They build stadiums that nobody goes to because they don't have enough sporting events or any events, regardless. So people don't want them anymore. And on top of everything, in Japan, the real problem is that they don't want to bring in people. They're going to do it like athletes come in and go out. My girlfriend's there. She tells me the problem is that because of that, they're delaying vaccinations. Because if people get vaccines, how do you tell them not to attend? So they're delaying and they're closing their population. They're not allowed to leave or not allowed to enter. So they're stuck. And they're in lockdown. Like, she's been in lockdown for the past year. Like, she can move 5 miles. It depends on the time, sometimes 25 miles away from her house. So they feel resentful because the government is sacrificing their well-being to make sure the Olympics happen. In September, they'll vaccinate. You're like, what?
That is crazy.
I know. It's like, what? Like, I can travel. She can't. I asked her if she could come here. She said, well, I won't be able to come back.
Wow.
She might even get fined. She told me, because it was not the necessary trip per their definition.
And what happens if you go there? Can you go there?
I can't. They won't let me enter. I'm prohibited. Every foreigner is prohibited, and those that used to can, they had to give their phone at the customs that would be programmed. You give your itinerary. If you move from one spot to another a day that was not scheduled, you get arrested. If you get into a cab, subway, you get arrested. You need to have your own means of transportation and follow and they track you. And if your phone doesn't move per the itinerary, they come to check on you.
Wow.
So nobody really goes.
And people are complaining about masks. They don't know.
Yeah, that's why I always want Americans. Like, I saw a video of Americans getting crazy on a flight. The flight had to land in Iran because they were disruptive. They were going to a vacation. I don't know, was it India or somewhere, Sri Lanka? These idiots were like, I know my rights. You're in Iran and you're an enemy of the country. And so they were getting like beaten up by the cops, and they were like shocked and like, welcome to another country. You're not the center of the universe. I'm sorry, it's horrible. But at one point you're like, good for you. you're learning while you're getting beaten up. That's very rare.
Wow.
Yep. Man.
Oh my God, the look on their face of panic.
What do y'all think, since we're on coronavirus, what do you think about this Houston hospital that is going to fire employees if they don't get vaccinated.
Yeah. I mean, they're healthcare employees, right?
Yes.
They need to wash their hands right after they eat. Otherwise, it's a fireable offense in the hospital, whatever your position, because inbound hospital infections are really serious. You go in for your appendicitis and you come out dead. So no. And I'm sorry, you don't believe in vaccines? What the hell are you doing in healthcare?
Yeah.
Didn't you go to school and learn about smallpox, about the flu, about, oh, you know what? Enough. And it's 197 out of 4,000 employees. You guys need a new career.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm generally not for authoritarian actions, but I would not want to be a patient, any kind of patient in a hospital where the healthcare workers weren't doing, like, I think it was on The View where they were having this discussion and somebody said, you know, what if your surgeon said he doesn't want to wear a mask while he's operating on you? You know, it's just unacceptable.
It's a fireable offense. It's like, hey, it's my liberty to drink on the job. You are operating a crane at 1,000 feet above ground. No, you're not going to that. You know what? Yeah, I diddle kids, but you know, I should be allowed to work with them. You know, there are reasons why people have limitations to call. You know, it's just, it's like, you know.
Yeah, and you know, I just got my second dose, but I was on the wait and see list for all the reasons that I had. But one of the things that I felt strongly was, you know, my lifestyle. I'm not around a lot of people. You know, I'm certainly not a healthcare worker. I don't have to be anywhere or anything. And so, you know, so I felt like I could kind of take my time and figure out what I wanted to do. But I always said from the beginning, like, my brother is conductor on New Jersey Transit. So he is around a lot of people, you know, throughout the pandemic, he was around people. And so he was among the first to get vaccinated. And I thought, that's good. You should be. You know? And I mean, and they, you know, they're healthcare workers. So yeah, if you don't trust in the science, if you don't believe in the science, then, you know, go do some other work.
It's like, imagine an engineer who doesn't believe in gravity. Why? How did you get your diploma? At one point, we got to admit that when you work in healthcare, it's a discipline. It's not about who is authoritative. It's about what is authority, the principles that are objective outside of humanity. Cells don't obey to authority, but they obey to a certain process. If we understand the process, we have rules. We're obeying nature in that case. Because if you want to go to a hospital where inbound infections are rampant, why are you living in America? There are tons of countries that don't have appropriate healthcare systems. You could go there and have fun, see what happens when you get infected with staph because you went in for a dental appointment. The guy didn't wear a mask and used, you know, it's like, I mean, you're talking about people who drink bleach thinking it's going to work. So at that point, I'm sorry. It's just, we can't, there's an article, I think, I don't know which magazine, saying the dangers of working on elevate or fighting against elevated stupidity. Stupidity is stupidity. Elevated stupidity will tell you 2 + 2 = 5, and then talk about and invoke a mathematician without naming him or giving the passage, and then say if you contest that person's cancel culture. It's the whole process, and then get a book deal, and
if you're Trump, you'll find the mathematician that will affirm 2 + 2 is 5.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. And that's cancel culture if you're against me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know how you fight them?
How?
You do it. you gotta read a ton of books, and when they talk about Pythagoras, you're like, wait, what part of the theorem are you referring to? Because there's no parts. There's just, you gotta attack people. I do it all the time when they say, that present was so good. Oh, you mean that? And what about this and that and that? They hate it. But you have to do it. It's the only way change can happen is when you realize the fight is forever.
Yeah.
The fight for change is forever. Every generation we have to repeat the same truths again and again, because people are born and become racist. You got to fight against race. You can't just, oh, racism is over. Oh, it's unfortunately animal nature to think that people who are different from where you were born are threats. It's animal behavior. Children are supposed to become humans, not remain at the level of, tiny organisms. But we're not doing our job. We're raising people to be animals with the guise of human rights and intellect, and there's nothing there actually. There's, when you really dig, people don't understand what they're talking about at all.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys. Well, I survived the vaccine.
All right.
By the way,
Stay healthy.
which one did you get already?
Pfizer.
I don't understand why your internet is still slow. The microchip should help.
Oh no!
It took
No,
time.
you
It took
didn't
time.
do
It
that.
took time. It took time. No, it should really help. It helped me. My internet
Oh
is
my
smooth,
goodness.
so
Yeah, no,
I don't
Pfizer.
complain.
Pfizer's the one you got, right?
Yeah, I should do that. We should all do that. Write them letters complaining about the microchip not working really well. And I'm sure Pfizer would be like, wait, is this a joke? Like, we create a new movement where you use conspiracy theories and you say you're for them. That's the way you beat QAnon. You say, we're for the deep state. And drinking blood from children is normal. It would be incredible. They would become insane.
That's not a good idea, because the way these people are today, they'll track you down and they'll be at your front
Oh, no.
door.
You don't understand. I will track them down. No, you do that the other way. You create drama, YouTube drama. Like, I will track you down. Let's do a boxing match right now.
I was listening to a podcast this week with the woman who was one of the first people to figure out how to manipulate mRNA. And so anyway, it was very interesting, her story. But the idea is that you can take the mRNA and put any message into it that you want. And so if you really want to go freaky sci-fi, then they don't have to put microchips in it. They can just, tell the mRNA all of a sudden, start hitting your head.
Wow.
I'm organ failure. Well, we could use that to not trace things that could be very fun, like give Donald Trump, I don't know, each time you eat a burger, you will have a seizure. Go, I can't eat burgers anymore. The only thing I can eat are carrots. I mean, it makes me orange naturally. It's cool.
Yes.
Eat a vegetable.
Oh,
and so I think that the science is so advanced. It's capable of so much for those really low information consumers. They really just, they just have not been prepared to do the kind of work involved in really trying to understand an issue. And it's a lot, it's a lot. And so all they know are, just this, I think they have just this vague sense that science is just this, monster capable of willing and capable of doing all kinds of things. And, and the kind of tough work involved in really trying to understand what's going on I think, our educational system has just not prepared people for it. And so we reap the results of cultivating ignorance.
It goes further than that in a way, because when people get cured, cancers coming, finally residing, as people say it's a miracle, and all the staff from the hospital, all the scientists that work on that for centuries are like, no, it's not. Stop invoking God. Thank God he's alive. No, thank all the staff here who are trained to understand human bodies.
Right.
It's a miracle. No.
Right.
It's like, oh, I'd like to thank God when they win a game. I'm like, so what? Why don't you thank God when you lose it? Because it's still God's will, right? So thank God all the time. It's just annoying to see people in America, even when they're showed all the complexity and their child is being saved at St. Jude and they use monoclonal antibodies and whatnot. Like, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
I work all night on how to duplicate a single cell from a mouse and make it humanized. Not a night. Actually, it's 10, 20 years, but it's just annoying. You're like, hey, look at what I did. It's incredible. I don't understand it.
But
look, it's a Marvel movie.
Don't blame Americans, Rick. We have been we've been conditioned this way.
Yeah, but I blame a lot of Americans because they quote things.
But you take 12 years of an educational system and totally use it, turn it into a big waste of time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fill people's head with a lot of nonsense.
Now, in America, people are all beautiful. That's the message. Everybody's brave all the time for whatever. In Europe, we were raised with the idea that we're nothing until we prove ourselves to ourselves, in a way, which is, it's cool. It's like, okay, how old are you? 13. You don't know your history of the Middle Age by 13 years old. I'm so sorry. We're told we're not worthy. And we're told that we should shut up and work and stop thinking we know everything. And like teachers would say, oh, you know everything? Okay, what's the root square? And humiliate people. You can't do that in America. Americans try to go to French university. They left after 3 weeks because you come in and they're like, what did Kant say in that chapter? But I had the bibliography today. Wait, you didn't read over the summer all the bibliography? I thought it was at the end of during the year. No, dummy. Now you're gonna write. The insult, they wit, and in America you can't do that. You can't do that, and because everybody's precious, nobody will take criticism. They call it being a hater. No, I'm allowed to criticize your point of view and what you're saying, even if it's something that concerns you. Like America right now is so crazy that it says we shouldn't have actors playing an identity they can't understand. Wait, it's called acting. So are we segregating so transgender people play transgender people and transgender people cannot play non-transgender people? It's also discrimination.
It's a slippery slope.
So we're getting to a point where everybody, nobody thinks anymore. And in the meantime, you still have lots of transgender women getting destroyed and killed in America, especially Black women, transgender women. Nobody cares because they're prostitutes, because nobody asks the question, how much it costs to transition? And that's not the kind of money you make on minimum wage. So, again, America is always, even progressives, they never talk about what hurts. And what hurts is that we still have 850,000 African Americans for minor offenses that have more than 5 years in jail. Still to this day, state and federal penitentiaries, you still have 2,000 inmates in isolation. They're not going there. And nobody in those TV shows who are so-called progressive are talking about that. And this is where it's becoming problematic because the fascists are very motivated and the Democrats make the same mistake over and over again. They don't want a commission on the Capitol. Why don't you attack them? Why aren't you being ruthless?
Yeah,
they're not.
I'm very concerned. I don't know what it is the Democrats think they're doing. I hope foolishly that they've got some kind of behind the scenes major strategy going on and they don't want to reveal their next chess move.
I don't know. Hey guys, I have to jump off here.
Well,
But
thanks
it's been a
everybody.
great discussion. Oh my goodness.
Take care. Bye.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
I'll
See
see
you soon.
you. All right now. Bye bye.
Bye.